All right. Well, welcome everyone to today's presentation from home to the Bluff, a family's guide to supporting student success. Really excited for today's session. Got some great team members and campus partners on the call today, here specifically to serve you, get all your questions answered. And I know it's probably already been said 100 times already, but for the students and families in the room, again, welcome to UP. We're so glad you're joining our community in about a month, just around the corner. So I just want to name that and celebrate that we're so excited to welcome you officially to campus in August. We recognize this has been a wonderful journey, little exciting, little overwhelming, lots of anticipation. We are all here to help celebrate you and get you set up for success so that transition is really seamless. That's what this is all about. So again, we recognize it's a busy time. Thanks for tuning in. Got a lot of great information to run through this evening. Um, I'll do a brief little intro of what's going to happen tonight. Obviously, we know starting college is an exciting milestone. It's a significant transition for both students and their families. So in this session, we're going to explore 6 key areas that shape the first year experience, including academic expectations, social connections, emotional well-being, and so much more. So you're going to gain insight into how University of Portland supports students through each stage, as well as concrete strategies to help you partner in your students' success. So our goal is to really equip you with knowledge and reassurance that, as your student grows into independence and discovering their path, we got your back. So that's a little teaser for what we got teed up for you tonight. I'm going to give everyone on the call tonight on the UP side an opportunity to introduce themselves just so our guests know who you're meeting with today and who's going to be moderating the chat for you. So hi, everyone. My name's Elena Wilson. I use she, her pronouns. I serve as one of our associate directors of admissions. Get to work with a lot of families from the greater Seattle area. So hi, everyone, if you recognize me. It's great to see you again. And I'm joined today by some great presenters. So I'll hand it over to Brenna to introduce herself, and we'll just go down the line.
Hey y'all, my name is Brenna. I use she, her pronouns. I oversee the first year experience on campus, so all of the resources and support for new students as they transition. I'm an alum of the university and I have been back now for 8.5 years.
Thanks, Brenna. My name's Corey. I oversee family engagement here at the University of Portland, and I've been here. I just passed my 10-month, and so I'm coming up on my first year, but I've been working in higher ed for over 10 years, and I use he, him pronouns.
Thank you for being here, everybody. My name's Matt Deschner, and I've been at UP for 20 years. And so I look forward to answering your questions today. And I just know you're going to love UP. You made the right decision. We're going to take good care of you. And I look forward to answering your questions.
Hi everyone, my name is Dio and I am one of the admissions counselors here. I work with students coming from East Portland, slash Central, Eastern Oregon, and also Arizona and Southwest Washington. Thank you guys so much for being here and hope that you enjoy.
Hi everyone, my name is Carlos Ramirez and I am one of the Assistant Director of Admissions and I have been working with students from Eastern Washington, Arizona, and Georgia. Welcome.
Great. Well, I'm pretty confident, but that between all of us, we're going to get all of your questions answered. So you're in good hands. And really, just a quick housekeeping tip before I hand it over to our presenters. We will be using the Q&A feature. This is how guests will submit all your questions. The presenters have some set slides they're going to go through, so they'll answer specific questions about their slides at the end of the session. But if you have some other questions in the meantime, you're welcome to put them in the Q&A. We'll be monitoring that, and then also have some time designated at the end to just do live Q&A to get all your questions answered. But with that, I'll take a back seat. I'm going to stop sharing my screen and I will hand it over to Brenna.
Great, thank you. I'm going to share my screen. All right. So y'all, as was shared, our session is about that transition from home to the Bluff. What does that look like for students and for families? And as Elena shared, we're going to talk through those experiences and then also give some tips and tricks about how families can show up and how we show up for students in those times. So we've done. There we go. We've done our intros. This is our agenda for the evening, the roadmap we're going to go down. And I like to start all of my conversations, my sessions with grounding ourselves in that reminder of who are our students? Who are we talking about? And so through my work, I know first year students to be high school seniors with a 3-month vacation. Very well deserved vacation. And definitely a big accomplishment to go through graduation this last month. I also know that for a lot of them, it's been common to receive higher grades or to be able to use extra credit to bump up a grade in the class that they want to. Most of them probably have never shared a room before, and oftentimes families are very involved both academically and in extracurriculars. I've seen when they come to college that they can experience some struggles socially and academically. Sometimes there's a bit of a decline in self-confidence because of the overall transition and uncertainty through all of the newness at once. And then also sometimes there can be some identity confusions or concerns around academics regarding study skills, time management, and also how do I talk to professors? Professor is such a different word than teacher. And so I share that to, again, ground ourselves and also provide that reminder that the students are going through so much all at the same time. For students who are on the call now, you are going to be learning everything all at once. And for those of us who work in higher ed or who are not going through that transition right now, it can be sometimes easy to forget that. So there's a lot going at once, which is why it's so helpful to have a variety of resources to help with that. So today we're going to be using Dr. Lori Hazard's 6 areas of transition to, again, talk through that experience and how that influence affects their time on campus, especially in that first semester, how we show up as an institution. Specifically, I'll talk about what I do and other opportunities across campus. And Corey is going to be providing some content and insight as to how families can get involved and be aware of what's happening and how to support their students through it. So diving into the first area, we have academics. And time management is a really key factor of this area. Students are learning to balance not only more academic responsibilities, but also be attentive to every layer of their life, of their existence. So yes, studying, but also doing laundry. Have y'all done laundry before? Do you know how to do that? Eat your vegetables. You have to monitor your vegetable intake. Exercise, physical and mental wellness, socializing, and so much more. And so finding a way to keep track of that is really helpful. And over the summer, this is a really great time to try out different planner or calendar or timekeeper to see what works best for you. During orientation, so those first couple days before classes start, all first year students do receive a pilot planner. So you're going to be given a way to keep track of everything. And also that might not be the best tool for you. It might be something digital or a different paper version, and that's okay. I've got lots of options as well and talk with students about that. Through this new academic experience, professors are expecting that students are active participants in their education. So in high school, you were in class maybe about 30 hours, 35 hours a week. At university, you're going to be in class about 15 to 18 hours a week, depending on your credits. That's a big difference. And it's important to plan out your time that you are digesting and reviewing information material before you go to class. A good rule of thumb is the 8-hour rule. So making sure that you are being an intentional, active student for at least 8 hours every day. And that might mean going to class, that might mean studying, going to tutoring, going to office hours, coming and talking with me, lots of different options to do that. And I do want to note that students are not expected to come to UP, let alone any class session, with having everything figured out. You're here to learn. You're here to figure out what's going to work best for you. So your responsibility is, though, to take time to engage with your studies outside of class so you can really maximize that in-class time. So some resources that I want to dive into, and then I'm going to pass it off to Corey. The Shepard Academic Resource Center is our home base for all academic needs. And that houses 5 different divisions. So one is first year experience. It's me. And through my work, again, as I mentioned, I oversee the students' transition to campus, which includes their enrollment in Anchor Seminar. And this is the intro course that provides them an explanation of what the core curriculum is, and also how do I maximize my time as a student and succeed here in Portland, here at UP. We also house the Learning Commons, which is our peer-assisted tutoring, and that's available to all students at any level. We house general academic support, and this provides support for all students, no matter their grade and what their situation in academics, what their question is. Andy, my colleague, he oversees this and works with our care team that you might have heard about to support students specifically through those academic hurdles. We also house Accessible Education Services, which is our department that provides accommodations for students who are diagnosed with disabilities. So think 504 plans, IEPs from K through 12. And then our last one is our first generation programs. And this is a department that provides opportunities for students who are the first in their family to connect with one another, to receive additional support and resources. And we're super excited this year, the first year class, 52% of them are first generation, which is awesome. Also, we have academic advisors. Students met them during orientation. Oh, no, during WAVE, and their excellent registration and academic requirement supports. And then there's me. As I mentioned, first year experience, but I have students come and chat with me about anything all the time. I send reminders to folks to come and meet with me, have a conversation, talk through what's going on. I also send out weekly emails that has timely information about what's happening each week. And also, being an alum and working here for almost 9 years, I have connections. I know folks across campus, and so I can make those introductions and help students learn who else is around. Corey, I'm going to pass it off to you.
Great. Thanks, Brenna. Quick plug. I think the FGen, the first generation webinar is actually in a couple of weeks too, led by Brooke. So if that's something that is of interest to you and your family, make sure to tune in for that. Again, my name's Corey. I am the Associate Director of Family Engagement here at UP. And kind of building off of what Brenna was talking about, one of the big shifts that families have to go through is understanding this term that we use at UP called parent proxy. And I list the website there because it's very helpful to go and sift through because your student is actually going to kind of lead the process in terms of what you're allowed to see, right? And so it provides access to you. The student goes through the student proxy process to give you permission to see things. And the most common things would be like grades or the bills when it comes to the financial side of things. And it's not just something that you can just call up and say, can I see my student grades or can I see what the bill is? And so we really encourage you to have those conversations with your student in regards to what that's going to look like. I actually just got some research this morning about FERPA which is the federal law of why we have to do this now that they're an adult. It's the Family Educational Rights and Privacy Act. And so that's very important. That's why we have to do it this way. And the students initiate that process. And one of the funny things about the research I saw this morning was if you're in the Pilot Family Portal, which I'll talk about here in a few minutes, the software that runs that did a survey across all of their clients. So they had over 40,000 families respond to this survey, and over 45% of families just use their students' login to do this and access this thing. And I just want to point out that that goes against the kind of ethics and spirit of FERPA, and that we would prefer that operation to be the student granting you access, and then you build your own profile so you can access those things. But it's a very detailed walkthrough of how to sign for both your student on how to do it, and then for how the family member and supporter can do it through that website.
Thanks, Corey. All right, so the next area here is cultural. So no matter where your students' high school experience lands on the diversity scale, they are going to be encountering peers from across the country and across the world, and everyone will be bringing in their own unique experiences, perspectives, and beliefs. One of my favorite lines from the TV show Ted Lasso, in the middle of a darts game, he turns to his opponent and he encourages them to be curious and not judgmental. And I think that's a really helpful phrase to keep in mind when there's so much new all at once. And it can be overwhelming to have all of this change and exposure at the same time. And families, I encourage that you help us encourage your students to meet new people, continue to be open to these experiences, and see what is out there, and that everything is a learning opportunity. And so some resources that we have on campus, there are so many different ways to discover interests and experiences and people and ideas, one of which is our student clubs. We have over a hundred student-led clubs and organizations on campus, which is an awesome way for y'all to connect with your peers, whether you're looking for a group who has a similar interest as you do, or you're wanting to explore something new and have a new hobby. Also, for folks who are living in the residence halls, they all provide a wide variety of experiences and events for their residents to connect with each other, to be able to connect with experiences and resources across campus, and also those conversations about how do we live in community? How do we live with others and do that well? And of course, in all of the classes that students will have, there are opportunities to explore new ideas and wrestle with new understandings, whatever that might be. I'm also a resource, as I've mentioned a couple times. I am an alum of the university. It was a while ago, but I do have some context of navigating this campus as a student, and of course, as a staff now. And I of all of my conversations with students, one that I often have the most is how do I college? How do I do this and handle all of these new experiences? So don't hesitate, students. Don't hesitate. Come on in. Let's have a chat. And talk through what are some of those areas that are a little bit harder for you to transition and wrap your head around, and talk through strategies that could help in that process.
All right, so on the family side of things, I put a QR code up there, and it's something that I've recently launched within the portal over the last several weeks, is what we're calling the pilot family programs. And it's a way for families, from a sense, to get involved as we look to increase your footprint in some way, to stay engaged, because we know throughout that K through 12 experience, you've had a very hands-on opportunity to be involved, and we want to continue that. It just starts to look a little bit different. So there's a transition that's happening there. So there's kind of two different categories that we've built out within that. And first one is called Pilot Family Ambassadors. And those things are we're trying to build out people that want to help volunteer at events here on campus, whether that's move-in orientation weekend here next month, or at the end of September for our family weekend and homecoming, September 25th to the 27th. So volunteering at events, we're looking at partnering with admissions in the springtime so we can have families connecting with prospective families, the families that kind of have been in your position over the last few months. That way that it's not always just staff connecting with you, but it's having other families that have gone through that process before, whether it's just a helpful note, a text, an email, and just providing yourself as like, hey, I'm a resource if you have questions about something, is something that we're really excited about trying to launch in the coming months. And then as well as helping with like digital engagement, helping me in the portal, right? We launched discussion boards at the beginning of the semester back in January, being involved in that, as well as partnering with the Career Center via their handshake program in terms of just getting your companies involved because we're always looking to find ways to hire future pilots. Right. And so that can maybe lead to further things down the road. But those are some of the initial concepts that we're trying to launch in that category from a volunteer perspective. And then the other side of it is our philanthropy side of things in terms of family giving. We're relaunching kind of a new version of the Family Leadership Council. We're looking at different donor-funded scholarships and as well as kickstarting our new UP Family Fund this fall, which directly impacts the student experience. It's helped run by our student affairs division in terms of everything from emergency needs, activities, the health and wellness center, and kind of whatever needs that kind of impact. And so those are all really helpful pieces within that. Because my role, I oversee engagement, yes, but that's that whole time, talent, and treasure. So I have kind of two different avenues, both from the engagement and getting people involved, as well as we're really trying to cultivate a culture of philanthropy with our students as well as our families. It's just something that we believe kind of as a core value of being able to serve and give back. And it's something that we want to instill in our students in their time here. So down the road, as they become adults in the real world, they're able to say, like, what's important to me and what do I want to give my time, talent, and treasure towards?
Thanks, Corey. Okay, number 3, emotional. So homesickness is something that everyone experiences, and it's going to come at different points. It's going to present itself in different ways. And again, every student experiences this, and it's okay. And it's really helpful to remind students who are here, it is okay to miss home. And it's helpful to talk about it. And it's helpful to name it for yourself so you can find a way of, all right, what's gonna help me in this moment? What can comfort me being so far from this community, this space that I have known maybe my whole life? Um, Oftentimes a trigger for students can be those moments when they're unwell. How many folks, oh, I can't see you, raise your hand. I'm such a teacher. Raise your hand. But when students get sick on campus, that can be for that first time, that can be a really hard moment of, wait, I don't have my couch with my dog or my favorite type of tissues or whatever it else might be. So again, another conversation this summer that can be helpful is think about what are some resources, some support that you have relied on. So is it prescriptions? Is it regular appointments? Is it certain type of activity? Make a plan now so that when school starts and you get that cold, inevitable, there's so many people, lots of germs, you have the resources and the support and the comfort to be able to help you get through that process. And a really, really important reminder that I share with students all the time is folks who seek, but even just accept the help and support that's being offered from your professors, from the Shepard Academic Resource Center, from your hall director, from if you get a job on campus, your boss, whoever it might be. The students who accept the support that's offered are students who thrive at University of Portland. And there are so many resources to take advantage of. There are so many people on campus who are dying to have you come into their office, to have you be a part of whatever they offer so that they can support you. And oftentimes it's just as easy as saying, yes, I will come. I will accept your invitation. So in this area, I know it's very common for families to receive the first phone call from a student. And that makes sense because students. That's who you've been going to. That's who you're used to talking to. And one of my favorite phone calls is from a family member, and they're saying, "Hi, I'm calling about my student, but they don't know I'm calling. Please don't tell them. I just have some questions." I'm happy to answer those questions. I'm happy to talk through what are some suggestions to support your student. And we have to partner in this journey because while we at UP might be experts in education, student development, you are the expert of your student. You are the expert of their experience thus far. And by partnering, we can better provide that support and that guidance through whatever situations come up. So for those resources, we've got a lot, as we always do. Perhaps in the residence life session, they might have talked about the care team. I'm not going to dive too deep into that, but that's a really big support on campus that it's kind of like the bat signal. When a student is struggling, care team gets the bat signal and they get into work and pull all the resources that are needed into one place to offer to the student. And some of the key partners that often support the care team are our health and counseling center, the hall staff, professors, myself, absolutely. I have shared with students, for those who are at WAVE, I'm a one-stop shop. One-stop shop. That's safe harbor, right? We're nautical, we're pilots. And because there's so much to figure out all at once, there's so many people, it can be really hard to figure out who do I go and ask this question to? Don't waste time trying to figure out. Start with me. Let's talk through it. Let me help you figure out who that best person is so you can just go get that resource and that support. I've got a couch, I've got snacks, and I've got soft tissues. So it's a good place to come when you don't know what's going on.
No, that's great. And obviously, the experience with families is a little bit different. I'm not going to invite you to my office or anything like that, or I prefer not that have that happen. And so, but I tell people like if the student is gearing towards Brenna, like you can come to me. And if there's one email that you remember, it's parents@up.edu. That's something that's easy to send us a message, and we're able to navigate that and get you on the right track. But even more importantly, in terms of that resources and connecting, is getting on the Pilot Family Portal. That is something that we're hoping every family registers for. It's free. Anybody can do it. So whether it's mom, dad, grandma, grandpa, aunt, uncle, friend, sibling, all of those things, you can do that at up.campusesp.com. You can see the URL down there at the bottom. I know a lot of you are already on it and are experiencing it. I just grabbed a screenshot of this because I know a lot of people also only see the newsletter when they sign up for it and they're just checking it out via email. So yes, the newsletter is a huge portion of that, and you can sign up for your own cadence of those things, whether that's every week, every 2 weeks, every month, every quarter. Um, Maybe some of you put never, that type of thing, but that's okay. But there's also a living, breathing kind of site that you can visit as well. And it's got different ads, different posts, the calendar, there's some resources. I really wanted to highlight down in the bottom right the Pilot Pal AI assistant that we've added to the portal over the last couple of months. That's getting a ton of interaction. So if you just have something you're thinking of at like 9 o'clock at night, and you just kind of want to know an answer to something, it pulls, and it's been really, really helpful in terms of finding information, especially from all the up.edu website, which can kind of be a behemoth to kind of navigate and find those resources and information. And it does a great job of condensing it. So that's a tool that I highly recommend using when you have questions, as well as parents at up.edu. I go in, I update the calendar. You can literally see on this screenshot that today, July 15th, is actually the 5-month payment plan deadline. There are other payment plans available, of course, too, but it'll go through and you can actually click on the link and expand the calendar. I've got it built out all the way into next spring. And so it's got everything that you need to, and I kind of add things here and there for that. And so making sure you're getting the newsletter, you're sifting through all the different posts, you're seeing the different events. You can see the save the date for September 25th to the 27th for Family Weekend, using the Pilot Pal, and of course, getting involved with the discussion boards. That's something that we're trying to get a lot of traction in, and it's a great way for families to engage with other families and ask questions and just get prepared as we get ready for, I keep saying like the fall, but it's literally like weeks away. So.
You know, it's a way closer than I realize. All right, so on to our fourth area, we've got financial. So question, does your students, do you know what is the cost of tuition to come to UP? How much does everything add up to be? And this is not meant to add an additional pressure, but I do believe that it provides really helpful perspective to understand the weight and the cost, literal, figuratively as well, of coming here. And I did some quick maths, and I'm not a math major, so I might have this wrong, but according to my calculation, every class hour comes out to be about $145. So when you miss class, are you ready to hand over the $145 for nothing? And I say this because I know that there are sacrifices to come to UP, and I believe that they are truly worth it. And through your time engaging with everyone and all these info sessions, I hope that you are stronger and strongerly believing that that is the case. And there's still sacrifices. Something that we have on campus is a robust student job board. And so we have we have hundreds of students who are employed all across campus in every single department to help run the university, to help create an experience for their peers. And I think it's the first week of August, the jobs for the fall will be posted, and there will be so many to sift from. And so for some students, it's really a great opportunity to explore something new, to put time into an interest that they really enjoy, or perhaps to dive into their studies in a different way, maybe a little bit more hands-on than what classes might be for the semester. Something to keep in mind is that on-campus jobs, we're oftentimes more flexible because we know we prioritize that you are students first. That's not always the case with off-campus jobs, and we're going to work with your class schedule to ensure that everything is around that. And, also the commute is pretty easy. It's just across campus to another building. So for resources, we've got the student job board, which is on our website. And again, the jobs for the fall are going to be posted come August, and there's going to be lots of opportunities. Our student employment office is a super great resource to talk to through any questions regarding hiring paperwork or applications or whatever it might be. But they're super great, as everyone is, but very good supports for this. Also, there are, of course, our our counselors in the financial aid office. Also wonderful resources to talk through if folks are wondering, is there anything else, any other scholarships or loans or grants or anything else that can help with this whole cost to come here. And they talk with students about helping to find scholarships, applications for those scholarships, and everything in between. And then also myself, hopefully you're noticing a pattern. As I mentioned, it can be intimidating to, one, ask a question, two, know who to go to for it, and three, walking into an office that you've never been in before and opening up yourself. So oftentimes in those conversations I have with students, depending on what they're needing, we come up with a list of questions, and then I'm able to walk them over to that office, make that introduction so they know, okay, here's the actual person I'm going to talk to. I don't have to worry about figuring out who that is. And Corey, you have some more context.
Yeah, no, that's a great segue into this idea of talking to your student about what the job expectations are, right? And so looping in pilot pay, which is the literal resource to pay the bill type thing. I linked the QR code because just a couple of weeks ago, we had this presentation on pilot pay on how to pay your student bill. It's a great resource and highly recommend that you get in there and check that out with student accounts. But I really want to kind of bring that all together in the sense of like, when you're having that conversation about work and about finances and who's responsible for what, how much do you expect your student to pay, if any, and back and forth. And what that does is it starts that conversation about what does parent proxy look like, right? Because there's like, if the parent's going to be paying 100% of the bill, there could be that expectation that the student probably should help mom and dad out a little bit in terms of allowing them to see certain grades or the bills and those types of things. And so I think it's very helpful to have that conversation. All of these conversations don't take a ton of time, but they're super awkward to initiate, and just know that that's okay. And just try to ask those open-ended questions, and try not to insert like all your advice right away into those conversations. And so, and the other thing about Pilot Pay is that there's a great guest feature that you can just assign. You don't even have to log in, you just pay. So that's great if you're looking at like grandma or grandpa that wants to help pay some money towards the tuition. They can just do that through the guest feature within Pilot Pay. And so, have those conversations. Just want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I mentioned the payment plan deadline. There's a 4 month one coming up, and then the 3 month payment plan as well in regards to getting ready. And like Brenna already mentioned, usually around August 1st is when a lot of those student jobs start to populate on the board. And we have student employees in literally every department that I can think of, including my own. Here we have a few that help with alumni and family engagement, and it's a wonderful experience. It's a great, just like college is preparing for the real world, these are great jobs to help prepare them for their actual jobs because they have the flexibility, they can mess up, and they're going to teach those real world values of what it means to be a good employee.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, number 5, got intellectual. So I briefly mentioned a little earlier, at university, the goal for this educational experience is to dive deeper, to go beyond just memorization level, but to really dive into what this means, what this content relates to, and also how are all of these classes going to connect to each other, this overall education that they're getting. And through this, with this experience, it can bring up some uncertainty about their pathway, learning more and exploring deeper into different topics. It might even lead them to changing their major. That's okay. That is okay. Do not worry. Families, do not worry. On average, college student changes their major 3 to 5 times. And in most of those situations, they can still graduate in 4 years or whatever the graduate timeline was. When I was a student here, there was a time period where every time I called home, they answered by asking, "And what are you studying today?" So it happens. I graduated in 4 years still, and I changed my major 3 times. And something that's good to keep in mind is that what you study, students, what you study does not pigeonhole you into one particular field. It does not force you to pick one journey, one path for the rest of your life. When I was studying, as I mentioned, I changed my major several times. I finally decided to get a degree in theology. No, I did not become a priest. But as I went through that experience and other experiences on campus, I discovered that education and student development was really where my interests lie. And even though I got my master's in education and I'm doing this, every day I still use those lessons that I received through my theology classes at UP to do this work, to be able to talk to folks, to think outside the box. And as a liberal arts institution, we're really dedicated to that holistic growth. At WAVE, students learned a bit about our core curriculum. So you're taking classes outside of your major. And we do that because we want you to have different experiences, different spaces to develop these key skills that are going to serve you well in a job, but then also as a human in life. Take an example. Yes, a nurse needs to be able to start an IV line, but they also have to be able to communicate with patients from other cultures. They have to be able to work on a team as well as individually, and so much more within that. And through the opportunity to dive deeper into the topics and this learning experience in all of their classes, this is able to happen. So some key resources for that: professors, of course. The professors that work at UP, they are here because they want to teach students. They want to be involved in your academic journey. They have office hours. Hear me, please. They have office hours because they want you to come. They want to come and talk to you outside of class. They want to hear your questions. They want to hear your curiosities. They want to help you understand material or work through an assignment better, whatever it might be. And also, I know for a lot of students, as they get to know different professors, these can lead to opportunities such as research or connections within a certain field, or perhaps an off-campus internship, whatever. Go to office hours, please. They exist to be used. Um, Another option or experience we have on campus, we have a number of lectures throughout the school year, and these are provided by UP faculty and staff, but also guests that we bring in. And there are some that you might be required to go to for a class because your professor wants you to experience that, but go see one on your own. Dive into a topic and learn something from a new perspective. And these are listed on our calendar of events too, so definitely information that you'll have access to readily. Also, you may have guessed it, me. I am a resource and happy to talk through these questions of what does it mean to unpack these topics, and I'm not sure this is what I thought this major would be. I came to UP with a very specific plan as to what I was going to study and what I was going to do. And through my experience here, I figured out that my best laid plans were not actually what is best for me. And it can be really challenging to have that realization of, oh, wait, I thought this was the way I'm going, but I don't like that direction. What do I do? And having those conversations with someone else, I find is a lot more helpful than sitting alone and stewing in your head. So again, have a seat on my couch. Let's have a conversation because this is what I'm here for, to be able to unpack those uncertainties and curiosities and connect you with whatever else what might be helpful in the situation.
So, speaking of all of those conversations, those of you who are in the portal and have received this email or came to Summer Wave and actually heard our student affairs teams kind of break this down, these are just 10 helpful topics to kind of start engaging your student in right now so you can help guide them when they're actually faced with those dilemmas throughout their time that Brenna was just talking about, right? And so starting right away with those academic goals, like is your student really clear on that? And are you clear on that? And or do you have a very certain perspective of what that should look like versus what your student feels, right? And so being able to get on the same page about what those academic goals are and being able to pursue them and be able to provide those resources as necessary. And then you can pivot to something like alcohol and drugs, right? Like that's a real thing. Like our VP of Student Affairs, Alvin Sturdivant, would say, you're going to pretend that college doesn't have it. And so you have to be able to have that conversation, how that can impact the academic journey, right? And the decisions that in the fallout, what the consequences may be. We talked about the budget and money piece already and setting the expectations for what that looks like. It's just really important to help understand that, especially from the budgeting side, right? They're going to be able to go through and all of a sudden they spent all of their spending money in the first 2 weeks and they don't have anything left for the last 2 weeks of the month. You know, what does that look like? And those are hard lessons learned. Communication, right? How do you communicate? How often do you communicate? Do you expect to like FaceTime your kid every day? I would say maybe pump the brakes on that a little bit and understand that, you know, a text here and there throughout the day is really helpful. But being able to lay the groundwork for what that actually means because they're discovering a whole new rhythm and pathway to being able to just exist, and that can be really hard when you're somewhere else thinking about like what in the world is going on. But I can promise you, they really are trying to navigate those things and figuring out where all those kind of, it's like a big Tetris puzzle, and they're trying to figure out how to best organize all of those blocks. Health and wellness. We have a wonderful health and wellness center here, everything from mental health to literally just being sick, and encourage families to say, like, do they know who their primary care doctor is? Do they know how to schedule appointments? Do they know how to navigate all of those types of things when they need to, right? Might be something you've done for them all the way up to this point, and might be something you might want to start handing off to them in regards to using while they're still on your insurance plan. Brenna mentioned earlier the campus involvement. I mean, everything from the student organizations, the clubs, there's media opportunities, we have student government, the recreation opportunities at Beauchamp, the intramurals. There are just so many different avenues and pathways for them to get involved, be engaged, and have tons of fun, while also learning all of the wonderful kind of social skills that you would want them to learn while they're in college. And then the other kind of majorly awkward conversation comes around sex and relationships, intimacy and consent, and understanding that consent is required every step of the way, right? And being able to navigate what that looks like. Those are super awkward, but super important that you're communicating what your expectations are and what their expectations are. Street smarts. What that means is we're a campus in Portland, like we're a city, and we're not in the heart of downtown, but we can just look out here on the bluff and you can literally see it. And so being able to understand what that means, because people like to go and hang out downtown. There's a lot of fun things to do here around Portland, and being able to communicate to your student about being safe and smart, and what that means, traveling at night, traveling by yourself. I used to work in college athletics. I was a cross country and track coach for several years, and understanding what that actually means for athletes I don't want them to run by themselves. I don't want you to run at 11 o'clock at night, those types of things. Study habits, some of them have been developed, some of them have not. And so I always say that like those study skills are the most important thing that they can have coming into the college landscape, and hopefully they will develop those and understand that the SARC is just has all the resources to help begin that journey if they don't have those. And then the work conversation, that is just super important as we've wrapped that up with the financial type of thing. Just more importantly, families just trust the foundation that you've laid. These are all just helpful pointers, and I can send this list if you reach out. It's got a little bit more descriptions, but these are the kind of the 10 big ones that we see most of the time here at UP.
Yeah. So helpful to have these conversations before there's confusion or something happens that need to be addressed. Thanks, Corey. All right, folks, we are so close. You have been great. We've got one more area to dive into, social. So thinking about your life thus far, average of 18, for a lot of students coming in, they haven't had to make friends for at least 4 years, but perhaps 12 years, depending on where you went to school and how everyone moved from school to school. And so starting at university can feel kind of weird or uncertain about how to get to know people. Like, can I still use the kindergarten go-to of, hey, want to borrow my crayon? Or I like your crayon, can we trade? That has been known to happen in some situations, but that might not be your go-to. A study that I have found really helpful to share with folks is one from the University of Kansas, and it discovered that in order to create a best friendship with someone, it takes about 200 hours. That's a long time. And I share that again, not to scare you, but to just name the reality that the friends that you are leaving now and the level of friendship that you have, that's taken time to develop. And the folks that you meet on campus on day one, you're not going to have that same connection because you haven't had the same amount of time. And I also want to note that in order to get to that level, every single minute that you spend adds up to those 200 hours. So when you are in your room, or like, oh, I need a break, what should I do? Go to Espresso UP, get a free coffee and talk to someone. On the weekends, go to a Pilots After Dark event and win some prizes in bingo or play a trivia game. Go to our soccer games and lose your voice cheering for our team. Whatever it might be, we know that it can be overwhelming to transition to campus, again, create those scaffoldings of figuring out how to connect with peers in different ways. We do a lot for you. So take advantage. You don't have to build it yourself. Just say yes to what's being offered. And one thing that has already in place, and students at Wave, you would have heard a little bit about this, is that in academics, we registered students for a few classes first. And by doing that, we're able to create a cohorting model. So that means that in at least 3 classes, students are going to see some of the same faces. So inevitably, when you miss, I don't know, math class on Monday, Tuesday, when you go to your anchor seminar class, you're going to see some of those same faces. You could ask them, hey, I missed math. Can you help me with the notes? Can you help me with the content? Um, Another layer to that is, again, anchor seminar. So that's the first year seminar all students take in their first semester, going through how to college, why am I taking classes outside of my major? Yes, they are important and they are helpful. We start that class during orientation. So students move in on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. You actually have 4 class sessions for your anchor class. And all of those are to help with that transition and help you understand, okay, what's happening and what do I need to keep in mind now? And giving you that an overview, but really timely information for the start of the school year. So families, as you might be exploring Portland after you drop your student off on Thursday, I really encourage resist trying to pull them away from everything that's happening Friday and Saturday, because those are key moments for them to be able to interact with their roommate living on campus, but also classmates in Anchor and folks that they're going to be meeting through the other sessions and activities over those 2 days. Really helps to build some familiarity before diving into classes. So for resources, I have to say, students, if you call your families, if you get a call from your students and they say, there's nothing to do, I'm so bored. What am I supposed to do on campus? That's not true. There's so much going on. There's always stuff going on. I think in Wave, you learned about Engage, which is our platform that keeps track of all of the student clubs and organizations that exist, as well as a calendar of events. So that should be your go-to place to see what's happening. You can access that through the UP mobile app. We have club events. We have big campus-wide events. We have athletic games and matches. We have residence hall activities. And there's a lot of people to ask about what's happening as well. You're living in the hall, ask your hall director, your RA. You have class with your anchor leader every week. Ask them, what are you doing? What should I do this week? Talk to the person who's sitting next to you in class. Turn, hey, what are you doing tonight? What's happening? Talk to your neighbor in the residence hall. And hopefully you've guessed it by this point, come and talk to me. Ask me. Let's look through Engage. Let's find what you're interested in. I know some tricks about how to navigate that website and can help you learn how to do that as well.
All right, so families, what does that mean for you? I've mentioned it a few times that Thursday, August 20th is kind of the primary move-in day. There might be some exceptions depending on if you're like an honor student or a student athlete that might be coming in a little bit early. But the bulk of our students move in on that Thursday, August 20th date. And that day encapsulates all of our family programming. So from the morning when you move in through to the family social that we do at 6 p.m. that runs from about 6 to 8, where we'll feed you and we'll have some alcoholic beverages for you to partake in. That is kind of like the moment, right? That's the transition moment where you're saying kind of goodbye, and obviously you're welcome to stay. And there are like there's a Friday evening soccer game happening against Cal. There's a travelers mass on Saturday throughout that weekend. But everything that's built in that schedule from Friday, Saturday into Sunday is built for your student as they're trying to build that community and get that momentum and starting to feel better about themselves as they get ready for class on Monday. And then we also want to just continually plug that we're intentional about this. 6 weeks later, we start our family weekend and homecoming event. And in that time frame is what we call the dive in period, where we have different activities happening every weekend for your student to be involved. So we encourage our families to not invite your student home between these times. Come back to campus for family weekend and celebrate, because those first 6 weeks are really hard. It's a huge transition for everybody. And we want you to come back and partake and celebrate that win, because it's not easy. And it's not easy for the student, the families, and the community that you've built throughout the first 18 years of your student's life. And We have everything from a Friday night stand-up comedian. We're going to do some career connections where you have a chance to meet with our kind of emerging alumni board that will talk through about what does it look like when you graduate down the road and like what's this education going to lead to. So we're partnering with our young alumni group as well as the Career Center in that capacity. On Saturday, there'll be a community service project that we're hoping to land exactly what that's going to look like here in the coming weeks, as well as both a women's and men's soccer game. We're going to have a tailgate barbecue that you can partake in. We're going to get the Performing Fine Arts to do a concert in the middle of the afternoon that you can attend. And then on Sunday, there's a lovely mass to end the weekend, as well as a brunch. And so there's a lot of activities coming your way to partake, and it's just a wonderful time to be on campus and celebrate all the things that are happening all over campus.
Oh, oh, awesome. Thanks, Corey. So folks, we made it. It was a lot of information, I know, and I'm going to tell you what I tell every student who comes and meets with me. You do not have to remember everything that we shared. We're going to have some time for questions now, but students, come and talk to me. Families, email Corey. Let us know what's up so that we can help you continue to navigate this transition. And I'm going to transition it back to Elena to help us with the question and answers.
All right. Um, that was so much wonderful information. Just want to take a quick moment to thank Brenna and Corey for all of this. I don't know, for some of you folks sitting in on this session, I really wish I would have received this amount of in-depth information when I was about to enter college. So this was extremely helpful. Thank you so much for all the time you put into this and all the work you do in supporting our students and families and being a champion for them during this process. So we do have some time available now to take questions live. Folks are welcome to put those in the Q&A feature, and I'll read them out, and Brenna and Corey can jump in on those. Let me pull that up. Okay. I saw there was one question kind of as a follow-up when Corey, you were on the top 10 questions
Yeah.
slide. If a parent is struggling to even get their student to open up to chat through those topics, if you have any tips and tricks on initiating that conversation.
Yeah, I would say that there's a couple of things I have written down. Like one of the phrases I've learned is like you want to resist the rescue reflex. And what that means is like you're going to have your own perceptions and you're probably already thinking about the advice you want to give in that space, but allowing them to talk about how they're feeling about it first is really important when it comes to that. And then the other aspect of it that I found to be really helpful is this is something when I was coaching in particular is like I need to be vulnerable first. And so if you can tell a story about your own journey that maybe they don't know about, that often can lead to some opening up from somebody that maybe that's been a struggle. So I'm not saying you have to tell them about every single little thing that happened on a Friday night on campus when it comes to alcohol or drugs, but if you're comfortable and you have a good relationship with your student, to be able to maybe be a little bit vulnerable and say like, yeah, I had to go through something similar, whether it was in college or something that you dealt with socially later, at work or just in a friend group in high school. Those things really help to help get the student to open up.
It's great. Can you remind us how folks can sign up for the family portal?
up.campusesp.com.
And
And they
that
can
email
always,
you, oh, yeah.
yeah, email me at parents at up.edu, and I'm happy to walk through any of that and send you that information and get you started.
Brenna, you might know the answer to this or be able to direct this family inquiring about a way to get prescriptions on campus. Additionally, is there a way for students to get things delivered to their dorms? So, i.e., packages from families, Amazon, etc.
100%. And you can even, as you are planning on packing up and moving in a few weeks, you can ship items to campus before students actually move on into their residence hall. So instead of having to haul everything with you, have it be here for you. Have it waiting. The address that needs to be used is the student's name, their residence hall and room number, and then it's the university's address, which is the 5000 North Willamette Boulevard. Um, and you can ship anything to your student at any time. I have found in my personal experience and also talking with students that care packages or notes can be really helpful boosts, especially around midterms and preparing for finals. Uh, the students receive a notification, an email when a package comes in, so it's never waiting for them long. And regarding wait, did I miss anything about mailing? No, okay. Regarding prescriptions, um, so one, I know that there are oftentimes prescriptions can be mailed to you. And so that would definitely be an option to have it sent in the mail to campus and they can pick it up like any other package. I also know that our health and counseling center, they can help students organize if they want to transfer their prescription to a clinic up here and work with them. They can help with that process. There's some prescriptions that the health and counseling center are able to more directly help fill. I don't have the exact list of what those are, but at the very least, they have lots of information and instructions on how to either do that with them or with providers in the area. But I would look at, depending on what it is, I would look to see if it can just be shipped directly to campus, so that it's just the same process as picking up any other package.
Truly are one-stop shop there. Thank you, Brenna. That's super helpful. All right, thanks for everybody's questions. We'll keep chipping away at these. We might go over time a little bit, but feel free to hang on as more questions come in. Okay, there's a question here. Will the UP newsletters give more information about student jobs?
Yes. Once I see kind of everything kind of loaded up, I can send it out in a link to all the incoming families to say like, here's the job board, and you can bookmark that page now if you just look up the job, employment at University of Portland because they have the student employment button that you can already list. They just don't have everything updated for the upcoming term. But that's something that you can go ahead and bookmark and save and then be able to sift through and walk through and have that conversation, right? And say like, oh, you might be really interested in this. And the one thing I've experienced dealing with students in the past is a lot of them find out that like they're like, oh, I really want to. I had runners that really love to do grounds because they love being in the dirt and like working the landscaping on things, right? It made them feel like they were giving back to the university in different capacities. And then we have my colleague has the STAT team, which is students today, alumni tomorrow. When I talked about building that culture of philanthropy, we have students that work, over 40 students in that capacity, that work and connect with our alumni for all kinds of things throughout the year. And so there's all kinds of opportunities from the library to maintenance, to all the different departments. There's unfilled positions that go throughout the year too. So
Mhm.
I don't want to say there's not an excuse, but there's so many opportunities that they'll find something that they're very, maybe not like super excited about, but in terms of helping to pay the bills and be able to get across the stage in 4 years and get the degree. That's the most important thing, and they'll probably learn a few things that they didn't expect along the way.
I would encourage too. So students, you are pilots. You are part of this community, and our Career Education Center is a really, really great resource to help as you are looking at jobs, applying to jobs, going through the interview process. They meet with students virtually, so folks who are out of state, that doesn't matter. You can hop on a Teams call to talk through whatever you're curious about. If you want to buff up your resume or learn how to write a cover letter, or you're preparing for those interview questions and figuring out what examples would be good ones to share, definitely encourage that you use that resource in the process.
Yeah, they do mock interviews and everything too. So
Mhm.
they do incredible work in the Career Center.
Mhm.
And I think I would be remiss if I didn't use this as an opportunity to plug that being a tour guide in the Office of Admissions is also a wonderful campus employment opportunity. We'd love to have you guys share your experience with potential future pilots as well.
Yeah.
Let's see, we've got just a couple more here. This is great. I'm seeing some thank yous. That's awesome. Some questions on, is this being recorded? How do we access all of this? Yes, I forgot to share that in my intro. This is all being recorded. We are definitely going to get this out to folks in the next 5 or 7 business days. I'll share here in a second of where you can find that. But all these virtual webinar events throughout the summer are being recorded. So if your student missed tonight, or if student you're like, oh, I should have grabbed my parent and my supporter to join, you guys can grab some popcorn, sit down together, and watch this
And have the
again.
hard conversations. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
There you go. There you go. All
Yeah.
right, I'm just doing a final look through of questions. Let's see. I will transition over to this slide. So what I was alluding to, we do have a virtual events portal that you all can reference here and see all of the past great presentations that we've offered this summer. Reference the recordings there, and we're going to continue offering these throughout the summer up until move-in. So keep an eye out on your inbox about announcements of different events that we'll be hosting. We're just really working to set y'all up for success and make sure there's all your questions are answered before move-in day. Okay, there is a question here. I think I forgot to transfer money to the account that will pay the fees. Do I have until tomorrow? Is there someone I can reach out to? The billing statement itself isn't due until August 6th, so don't worry, you haven't missed anything there. July 15th was more the deadline to indicate an interest in signing up for payment plans. So if you missed that, definitely just reach out to your admissions counselor or student accounts directly, and we'll see if we can still get that set up for you.
Sorry, real quick. There was a question on for commuter students, like if it's still important or if there's events for them during orientation, August, yeah, 20th to 22nd. And I answered, but I think it would be great to hear. Yes.
And Brent and I are
100%.
actually partnering for that session too on that Thursday. So
Yeah. Yeah, we are. Absolutely. So even though a student is not living on campus, there's still so much to orient to get used to figure out people to meet and uh, places to get familiar with. Yes, 100%. Orientation is for and just as important for commuter students. On Thursday, during the day, early afternoon, there's really not going a lot going on because that's saved for folks to move into their room. But the main event for commuters would be coming at 4 p.m. For our commuter info intro session. So talking about what are some good things to keep in mind about commuting and getting to know campus and using different spaces is everything on campus is open to commuters, just as it is for students who live on campus. All of the buildings on campus, the dining halls, all of the events, all of the clubs, all of the jobs, everything is open to all students. And so 100%, I hope that all commuters will come. Again, on Friday and Saturday, there are those class sessions for the Anchor seminar. And so you want to be in class because one, you want to make sure that you get those attendance points, but also you want to know the information. You want to have what's going to set you up for success to start that first week of class. And then in the evening, we do have a lot of fun social opportunities to interact with peers and meet people in different ways. And I would really encourage folks to stay as long as they can, just to get to know it, get to know the campus, and get to know people.
Yeah, I'll piggyback off that for families of commuter students to encourage your student to stay. I know there can be an awkward period of time of like an hour here, an hour there, where it's like, I don't have anything to do. Like, do I really need to? I don't know if I want to stick around because they're anxious, they're nervous, right? Just like a normal student. And so instead of defaulting to like, oh, I'm just going to go home, encourage them to stick it out, take part in the events that are happening later in the afternoon, later in the evening, and kind of rip that Band-Aid off, so to speak, and start putting themselves out there to be more social, to make some friendships and make connections. And so that's another really helpful talking point for the families of commuter students. And we have a commuters lounge as well here on
Yep.
campus. Yeah.
Perfect. Dio, thanks for bringing that great question to the group. Definitely some good information there. And it looks like there was one final question about just concern for the redundancy, perhaps, of on-campus meals and what are options available beyond just what's on campus. Of course, we have the Beauchamp Commons main dining room. We have the P House, which is more of a social area, as well as like a market back there. Kind of, I've heard our tour guides describe it as a 7-Eleven meets a Whole Foods. Uh, I don't know, Brenna, what your take on that is. It's just a really nice convenience store. And then one of our residence halls, Lund Hall, is going to soon have another cafe feature there. So that's up and coming. Folks are pretty excited about that.
Yeah, but our two spots are so. Elena, what was the question?
So, a concern for redundancy of on-campus meals. What are other options available beyond what's provided in the payment plan, meal plan? Are there kitchens in residence halls? Are there grocery stores that are easy to travel to? What other
Okay.
options are there?
Oh, okay. Every residence hall has at least one kitchen. There are some halls that have multiple. They are all stocked with some basic kitchen supplies, but if anyone is a really fervent baker or chef, then they might want to bring some of their own utensils and tools if they know, like, oh, I cannot live without I can't think of anything, something. Uh, so those are open to all students and folks are using them all the time. They're used for events. Also, if groups like friend groups come together and they want to bake or cook a meal, that's absolutely an option. I find that the meal plan, the conveniency is what is really important. Again, I keep saying this, but there are so much happening all at once. And because, I mean, oh, I'm such a nerd. I could go into the science and the psychology of it, but our brain, there's no familiarity in the first few weeks because everything is new. And so it's overworking to try and categorize all that information. And if there are things that can be made easier, like, oh, I just have to walk into the Commons and decide if I want pizza or a sandwich tonight, and then I pick it up and I eat it, they don't have to make those additional decisions of, okay, how am I going to make my pizza and blah, 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 all that other stuff. So the convenience, I do think, is really helpful and beneficial in this transition. And we do have a Freddy's, Fred Meyer, which is a local grocery chain store. I think the Peninsula one is mile away, maybe.
It's
Maybe.
close. The
Yeah.
Safeway is pretty close too. It's just a little bit beyond that one too.
Yeah. So there are some options, and I know that students will, to the Freddies in particular, they'll walk with a friend over there or take a bike. Also, we have buses that stop right outside campus on Willamette, and those go over to Freddy's. So students will use that. Uh, hmm, I'll stop there.
Yeah, I would say the only thing I would add is we use a food service called Bon Appetit. And if you go to their website, which you can get through from our up.edu site, they post their menus. And so you can go and see what they're serving from week to week, both in the dining hall and in the P house. And they do a great job. You can even send them care packages through Bone App. Like they're here to serve your student, and they're really great with like food restrictions, allergies, dietary stuff that is going on. They want to hear from the students. They want to hear what they want, what they're looking for, because they're looking to serve the students as best they can. And so we have found them to be very collaborative with the student experience when it comes to the dining options.
Yeah. I would say if there's any sort of question or concern about that, talk to people. Go talk to Bonap.
Yeah.
You come find me, and I will take you to the office and show you who you need to talk to.
Yeah.
We can't support a need that we don't know about, and that goes with everything. If we don't know, then we can't respond. So just let us know what the questions come up and what needs are.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much. Looks like the questions have kind of rolled to a stop now. It looks like a lot of folks stayed on to keep hearing all this great information. So thank you everyone who tuned in. Um, I'm sure, like myself, you learned a lot today. This is great, and we definitely want to keep the conversations going. So please continue to reach out to us. You've got our emails, our phone numbers. We're here and happy to help. And now you've got some new faces to put to names that you'll see on campus very soon the next time you visit.
And I'm seeing my contact information is not on there, but if you contact anyone on campus, they can get you connected with me. Also, students who came to Wave, they have my email, they have my Instagram, they have the link to schedule a conversation with me, and they have my phone number to text me. So talk to your student and ask them, talk to Brenna.
Wonderful. All right. Well, thanks again, everyone. This is the conclusion of our event. A recording will be available shortly on that virtual events page. But thanks again. And investing in your future, whether you're a student or a parent on this webinar, kudos to you for being here. And we will see you on campus soon. Have
Yeah,
a great
thanks so
night.
much, folks. Go
Thanks,
Pilots.
everybody.